Hey guys, it's Matt and Andrew again. We're about to start part two. Just to quickly wrap what we did in part one, we went through the history of the Wolfenstein series, a lot of the dystopian themes of the first game, what we thought inspired it, like some obscure Nazi facts and
Lots of obscure Nazi
facts.
facts.
Yeah,
More
so
to come.
more to come as well. So without further ado, we'll get into part two. So Andrew, do you want to go read the plot for the new Colossus?
Yeah. Let's start with that one. So, 5 months after the events of New Order, BJ Blazkowicz awakens from the coma he succumbed to the aftermath of a surviving and near-fatal explosion, residing on a stolen Nazi U-boat commandeered by the Weissnau Kreis, also known as the Kreisau Circle. After an attack ensues on the base orchestrated by Frau Engel, many of the resistance members are captured, and the leader of the group is killed. Escaping the clutches of Nazi forces with the rest of the team, Blazkowicz takes over the leadership of the resistance and proceeds to what would have been the next step in the plan to liberate America from the Nazis and use the country as a center base to free the rest of the world from their monstrous regime. Recruiting new members to the resistance along the way, Blazkowicz and the group intend to assassinate prominent leaders in the Nazi regime to bring the public conscious into the idea of liberty and freedom, thus urging everyone to rise against the hefty powers who are running the government. But before they ignite the operation, the resistance must attack and take over Engel's airstrip, the Ausmerzer, to disable its use against their own by the Nazis, and hijack its command systems in order to start a revolution, thus reclaiming the land of freedom that was once theirs.
Yeah, wow. Well, before we get into like the game and plot and things like that, I never realized this, but the new Colossus was actually a famous American sonnet poem written by a lady called Emma Lazarus. That's where they get the name from for the game, and it was written during it was 1883. So they're trying to raise money for the actual podium where the Statue of Liberty goes on top of. So they wanted to build a column for that, and eventually in 1903, because it was big. The poem was a big influence at helping raising money to get that platform there. They engraved it onto the actual Statue of Liberty column there. So the actual poem itself. So
Wow.
yeah, and I was just doing a bit of research on it as well, and apparently Lazarus was involved in aiding Jewish refugees to New York who fled the anti-Semitic pogroms in Eastern Europe. You can see why they use that name as like a bit of an influence and stuff for the game. I'll just quickly read out the poem because it's pretty short. Not like the brazen giant of Greek frame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lighting, and her name Mother of Exiles. From her beaconed hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbour that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can...
Fucking Trump's America could not be further away from
Yeah, I know. It's gone in a different direction now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because the most iconic thing you see through, with Statue of Liberty and iconic was where people were traveling to America, and the first thing they'd see when they'd get on those ships from Europe, escaping either persecution or looking for a new life, is you come in and you see the Statue of Liberty in the distance going through the Hudson River. So it's a very iconic part of the American dream, the American, this new life that people were creating for themselves, especially too back in the late 19th century, early 20th century, was mass migration. So you can see why the game used this title as like the new Colossus, because it's kind of like this new revolution that happens throughout the game and plot and stuff. So I really like it. It's a nice... See, that's what I love about doing stuff on this podcast. I would have never known this part of the game, like why they called it that.
You would never need to know. You never go looking, would
you? Wouldn't think twice about it, but yeah, it's actually really cool and really... There's the symmetry in it, it's... And just reading about how Emma Lazarus was helping, Jewish refugees get it out, and assisting them even back in... Because as we said, established earlier, we always assumed that anti-Semitism happened during the Nazi regime. It's actually, no, it happened a lot earlier.
It's rife.
Rife, yeah. It's all through, American society and in European society. So, yeah, that little sidetrack, but I thought it was interesting to bring that in and read out the sonnet. So,
no, that was a nice touch.
Yeah. So we get into where we find out that somehow, bit like Emperor Palpatine in Episode 9, he somehow came back.
Yeah.
He survived. As I said, he's got.
Remember, the screen did fade to black though, so
it did. So he never wrote it off.
You never saw him die.
That's true. That's true. So, as I said, he's got more lives than a bloody cattle, Blazkowicz. But what a man! You know, just he keeps persevering. You know, he must destroy the Nazis. Must. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's at this point, so the Chrysler Circle come back and rescue him. They're not going to leave him behind. They take him, they get out on the helicopter. We see Death Head's compound is now destroyed. We know Death Head's dead, and thus the undoing of the Nazi regime. It's sort of doomed now because it's going back to their old ideology, but we'll find out a little bit more about that later.
Yeah.
But it's at this point where, like, it's sort of out of the fryer into the frying pan, in the sense that, like, you start to see flashbacks in the game for, like, Blazkowicz as a kid, so adding more depth to his character. And it, like...
He grew up in, like, Texas, isn't it, I think, from memory?
Mesquite in Texas.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah. And it shows him as a kid, flashbacks, talking to his mum, who is a Polish Jew, and his dad, who's a fucking racist, misogynist, just fucking prick, basically.
He was Polish as well, right? I think.
I don't think so.
Okay.
He's got a real American accent. Like,
I know he's got an American accent, but I think
damn it, boy.
Yeah, he's got a bit of that about him. But I think he could never amount to anything, right? He was kind of a bit of a loser.
It's sort of alluded that, like,
yeah.
he borrowed a lot of this money from her father, and then the business went to shit, and he gives her a slap, I'd forgotten about it, but like the dog, see the dog comes into it, and there's a particular bit in the game where, like, he's spouting all this, like, anti-black, anti-Semitic rhetoric, and, you know, it's established that, like, Blazkowicz as a kid, he likes this girl who's black, and
that's right. Yeah,
you know, they're getting sweet on each other. Like, the races don't mix. You know, you can't have weakness in their pure blooded, real fascist rhetoric. But it's established that it's 1919. And you know what? Instead of me saying, because I don't really want to say what he says, but you see it through. There's a flashback scene when you see Blazkowicz running as a kid, and he talks to Billy, who's the girl, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not. My father said I'm not supposed to talk to you because of." Look, I'm going to let him say it here, because we're seeing it through his eyes. We'll let that play.
Hey, boy. My name's Billy. What's your name? My name's Billy, too, but my daddy says I'm not supposed to play with you. Why he say that? My daddy said that Negroes are a sickness on the community and a bad influence, dirty and thieves, and beggars and bums, and they don't know how to read or write. And that they're stinky and stupid and lazy and way too lazy to work an honest job.
So obviously, like, you know, that's Blazkowicz as a kid talking about it, and it's his father's rhetoric going through. But Blazkowicz's father is, to me, the embodiment of, like, fascist culture in America long before the Nazis got there. As we've said, right? I guess the thing with the Nazis, it's kind of easy to pretend, like, you know, we won the war, and, you know, it's easy to wrap it up in, like, swastikas and jackboots and goose stepping, and, like, you know, with the swastika in the uniform. Oh no, they've been defeated. They're under history. You know, that we killed this evil regime. But, like, fascism and, like, anti-Semitism was fucking rife throughout the world at the time. You know, in fact, you know, the KKK were. What, 1865 after the Civil War? They
were created in kind of like a resistance to the end of, like, slavery and the Confederacy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, well, then they came this kind of like this Southern hero, anti-authority, like a cult hero kind of group to them. Well, the most famous thing is the Birth of a Nation film in 1916, where they're kind of like glorified as, like, these Christian knights saving America in a way. Like, really? Yeah. And it's an iconic film in a way where it was like, at the time, it was the creativity and the camera angles and the shots. It was like very well made film, but the message behind it was very bad. But it kind of got played around, like, cinemas in the early
sort of a bit like Triumph for the Will, right?
Yeah, exactly, same kind of thing, very similar to that, and
like a propaganda masterpiece, but terrible, right?
Yeah, but the message behind it is like,
message is fucking awful.
Oh, it's awful, yeah. And yeah, like, this is around a time too. We were talking about the 1920s, where, you know, you had the Jim Crow laws and, you know, the KKK. I think its membership got to, because there was a massive. I remember studying at school where there's massive. You know, the Republicans got back in again. They wanted to keep America for Americans, and they were very, after World War I, they were very anti-immigration. They didn't want to be a part of the European wars and going forward. They wanted to keep, you know, the famous line was the chief business of America is business. So they want to keep, just focusing on building the economy and things like that. But then other sections were very anti-immigration. So they halved immigration and weren't allowing people to come in. And then you see like the rise of, of the KKK, where they had, I think around like 1923, they had like 4 million members.
Wow.
As part of the group. But then because it became more of a thing where like it was about, preserving Christian values and that kind of thing. Wasn't. But then when they started ramping up all the lynchings and that kind of stuff, that's when some people were like, oh, this is a bit too extreme for us, and the membership started to dwindle a bit. They started to go a bit more terrorist-like where they were, terrorizing minority groups and things. But I guess too, like, big part of the KKK, because people think of it just being anti-black, right, most of the time, right? Where actually there's a lot of they're very anti-Jewish, even Catholicism to a certain degree. They were anti. It was all about being, white Anglo Protestant. That's all they cared about and preserving that. So
yeah. Well, I mean, look, it's even like eugenics programs in the US as well. Like I think they were one of the founders, like in 1900, the whole racial health of the nation. I think that the amount of 60,000 people were murdered. I think between 1900 and as late as 1970. People who were a drain on the system, or as we said before, like there was a lot of as we said in the
previous episode, part one,
it was a worldwide view at the time that like eugenics and racial hygiene and people didn't know what to do with a mental handicap and things like that. America was at the forefront of this, of dealing with it. I think even Hitler cited their response to it in coming up with his own ideas when they came into power in 1933 with the T4 project. So it's the point I'm getting at. I'm not excusing what the Nazis did, but it's easy to assume they were the only ones. It was a worldwide view at the time.
Yeah,
and that to me, like Blazkowicz's father, I think his name's Rip.
Rip, yeah.
He embodies that. So it's like the game. It can go from this bombastic fucking running around with 2 machine guns or a machine gun and a shotgun, like blowing Nazis away, and then these real confronting issues as well.
I think as we said in the previous part, like it's holding up a mirror to the American society at the time and now to a certain degree as well.
2017 as well.
Yeah, well, before we go further into the plot, like this, you think too, when this game was made, it was made, pre-production would have been what, 2014, 15, 16. That's when it was all gone. You're getting the build a wall, Trump coming in and make America great, isolationism's coming in. Then there's those tensions arising, and then we're starting to see the unite the right events unfold, and as I said earlier, the Make America Great Again rhetoric coming back into it, with a bit of that white nationalist undertones were in there. And funny enough, they kind of marketed the game on that. It was like I think one of their slogans was like "Make America Nazi Free Again," and they used it as a slogan, and it caused controversy in the promotion. But it was clever, but because it was controversial, it got attention. So it helped promote a very clever tactic to do that. But yeah, you can see it's really playing on like the tropes at the time back in 2016, 2017, where those kind of issues were happening. And because you remember when Trump, that first term, like it felt like it was him against the world every bloody day, wasn't it? Even now it's like that, but even more so back then, because no one thought he would actually get in. So, and he actually got in, and then you just like, what's going on? Like, this is insane. Like all the stuff he was going on about. But yeah, before we go off topic with that, but yeah, you can see what their influences were and why they wanted to portray this America that was before World War II. That it wasn't all sunshine and roses. This great pure society that's righteous, fighting this ultimate Nazi evil. There was actually a lot of turmoil back home, right?
Yeah, it's framed like that, right? Because we won it, but we were just talking about off air before the German American Bund in the 1930s. So the openly pro-Nazi organization in the US, they held massive rallies. The one at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, right? I advise anyone to look up that, look at the footage of that. It's actually insane seeing it.
Well, there's like American flags alongside Nazi flags, and their whole thing is, their message is like America should align with Hitler. Like, look at the might and the.
But also too, it's not like there's like a couple hundred people. There was like 20,000 people.
20,000. Yeah,
and then I think there's one part in that rally. I think a Jewish person got on stage to try and shout against them. And then you see like the Nazi thugs like grab him, like beating
like
the
brown shirts,
like beating and like kicking and smacking the shit out of him. Like he's like, oh my god, like and there were many like powerful police chiefs and other parts of politicians that were part of the rally as well. It's very, very frightening actually when you look back on retrospective.
Oh yeah. I mean, and look, and I don't want to single out America, but
Well, the game's set in
the
America.
game is set in America,
Yeah.
but it wasn't also there. You know, there was BUF in Britain, the British Union of Fascists, so they're actually inspired by Mussolini's black shirts. So they're pretty much a paramilitary ring called the British Black Shirts, essentially. So I think at the height they had 50,000 members. So they held similar rallies, not to the extent of the Madison Square Garden ones, but they used violence to get what I want. Which
Violence,
is
intimidation, yeah.
There was a National Unity Party in Canada, so it was a Quebec-based fascist group who openly supported Hitler as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's something to do with like they might have been support from like the Vichy French or something that goes there.
It makes sense actually because Quebec is very French Canadian, right?
Certain
So
conspiracies there. Charles Lindbergh as well, I believe, was quite prominent.
yeah, he was very sympathetic towards Hitler as well, and it wasn't even the king that abdicated. He was like a Nazi sympathizer too, wasn't he?
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe. I think it's heavily implied that he was.
He was, yeah.
King. What was his name? Was it King Edward?
King Edward, yeah, because he married the American divorcee, so he wasn't allowed to be king anymore, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny because when you look back in history as well, like you kind of view it as like, oh no, Britain and America all stood against this Nazi,
All righteous, good
all
versus
righteous,
evil.
yeah, good versus evil. But there's like a lot of high influential people who were actually sympathetic towards the Nazi regime. Even most famously, like Henry Ford to a certain degree.
Henry Ford loved him.
Yeah, he did. Well, Henry Ford, I think Hitler had one of Henry Ford's like
He had a picture
of him in his office or something like that. Yeah,
and I think they used there was even certain writings that they were like on the is it curriculum the right word?
Yeah,
but there's writings that they like. I don't think they called it up. There was writings that they like said, oh, these are great writings. This is a great man. I mean, there was you got to think of even the American companies that still done business with Hitler during the war. IBM.
Yeah.
IBM supplied the punch cards technology for Hitler. So like it pretty much helped streamline the Holocaust essentially.
Yeah.
Well, not pretty much. It did.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, Ford Company maintained business ties because it said he loved Hitler.
Yeah.
A rabid anti-Semite.
Yeah.
General Motors supplied parts and vehicles to the Nazi regime. They profited significantly through the war. I think Westinghouse still traded with him. There was Standard Oil, who are now ExxonMobil. They supplied Nazis with critical fuel and synthetic rubber materials in the early years of the war, which, between like 1939 and 1942, when pretty much all the gains happened,
Yeah.
Coca-Cola even.
Well, you can see
even developed a new drink, Fanta, for them.
Yeah. What you can see too, because before Pearl Harbor, right, the Americans were very anti the war. They did not want to be part of it. So you can see these companies going, look at this, how good this is. We can supply the Allies, supply the Nazis, supply the Axis power. Sorry,
it's called having your cake.
Yeah, and eating it too. Yes, money. That's it. That's all it is. Yeah. So you can see why they kind of fanning these kind of ideas and wanting to stay out of it in a way. But yeah, unfortunately, the Japanese ruined that for them. So
yes,
yeah, they had to go Pearl Harbor. So yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is why we've had to do this episode in two parts because we just introduced Blazkowicz's character, which is like 5 or 10 minutes in the first game, and this rabbit hole. Where are we now? What do we?
Yeah, I kind of lost traction where we're going, but
do we go back to the game?
Yeah, so back to the game. Yes.
So, in this part, Blazkowicz, who's been in a coma for 6 months, wakes up in a wheelchair and they're under attack, obviously.
He's on a U-boat, isn't it? Something like that.
He's on a U-boat and he's rolling around in a wheelchair, slaughtering Nazis. It's
what can't he do? Seriously, he's unbelievable.
But the bloke's still built like an absolute brick shithouse as well.
Oh, he's not missing. He's still getting his chest day in, isn't he?
Yeah.
He doesn't skip leg or chest. Or he might skip leg day this time around, but definitely chest day.
Yeah,
pumping those guns still.
Yeah. It's just pure Wolfenstein.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
turns it up to 11, and yeah.
Just to say, that's what's great about like the Wolfenstein series. Like it goes on these like really in-depth tangents and holding mirrors up to society and about this real dystopic world. But then at the same time, it's got that real like cheesy silliness to it as well, which is like amazing. And it makes it a bit more of a fun. It kind of breaks the tension a bit, makes it a bit more of a fun, lighthearted experience as opposed to being pure depressing the whole time.
Yeah. It kind of gives you a break from it, doesn't it? And then reminds you that there was more than what's going on than like. That meets the eye,
Yeah, exactly. So we get to we'll get to that. Then we get to the stage where we see the main protagonist of the game now is Engel, right?
Frau
Engel. Yeah, she's the main protagonist, and we're introduced. The resistance leader. What was her name again? Carolyn. So she gets captured in that mechs. She's wearing that special Yiddish
suit. That that you should power suit,
power
armor,
suit, power suit. And yeah, so she gets her head chopped off because, sorry, Frau was wanting her daughter, who's quite large and a bit overweight.
Sigrid, I think her name is.
Sigrid, yeah, and she's like tormenting her.
She's like a disgrace to her.
Yeah, she's an embarrassment. She's a bit of a nepo baby, right? Where she's kind of been sheltered her whole life, and now her mum's like being like, you got to take part in this. You got to be part of. You got to be strong and be part of the Nazi regime, basically. Yeah, then she couldn't murder someone in cold blood, so she just takes to the axe and just ruthlessly chops off Carolyn's head, and then she goes to kill
the Fergus or Wyatt.
Yeah. And then the daughter intervenes, then ensuing cuts off Fergus's arm or his head arm, and then during that scuffle, that's when Blazkowicz, lucky Blazkowicz gets the suit right.
Oh, it drops right in front of him. Just so he can get off the wheelchair.
And gets into it, and then he goes full beast mode. So this goes, then he kicks off again, where the game then goes into full overdrive. Then we're back to regular programming again.
we are, and then obviously Frau runs away. She's obviously done a big monologue, hasn't killed him when she had the chance. That's all right. Another Deus Ex Machina moment.
Yeah, another Dr. Evil moment.
And then she flies off in the her flying fortress, because the Altmerzer, I think, is what it's called. So it's like it's established that this like flying fortress, and again, you look at the supposed Nazi Wunderwaffe, I think it was called, like wonder weapons. These supposed things, they had like supersonic jets and these massive flying fortresses. So it's sort of playing in on that whole conspiracy. Again, History Channel at 3 a.m. Yeah, but this whole flying fortress is like just flies everywhere and sort of upholds the values of the Nazi regime. Anytime there's resistance, it arrives and stamps it out, kind of thing. That's the whole thing of it,
Yeah. Talk about dystopia. Bloody
hell,
that's
pure dystopia. It's like,
it?
It's like, what do you see? It's like the helicopters in 1984 that he talks about on fucking steroids.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It
can like strike at any time or moment. And strike things down. So it's really freaky, that thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
They kind of like, obviously they find out, the head of the resistance has died, right? So Carolyn's dead, so they have the funeral for her, send her on, say goodbyes. Then we find out too, isn't it, she's pregnant, Anya?
Anya, yeah.
Yeah, so then that gives, Blazkowicz more, more reason to fight and live and,
fight on. But it's sort of established that he's kind of dying, Blazkowicz, his liver's failing, and yeah.
It's setting up for something later, isn't it, by saying that, isn't it?
It certainly is.
I guess too, because then we go... Because we go to the headquarters of the resistance, like in America, was it the Empire State Building, isn't it? I think
it was. So this is where they they go to Manhattan, don't they?
Yeah, there's go to Manhattan. Yes, where it kicks in, and then I think there's only one part where you can see the Statue of Liberty. It's like the top of the head of it. It's like kind of like a reference to
underwater. Yeah,
underwater. It's kind of like a reference to Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
sticking at the end there. Yeah, it's a nice little homage. Yeah, you can see it playing out there. But
so it's established. So as we established, the war ended in 1948 in this universe with the bombing of New York City. So you get to see an irradiated nuclear city, which
it's really cool.
An irradiated New York, which is really cool, right?
And that's the first time we see that in the Wolfenstein series, right? Where we were going through a city or location that's been completely decimated and has radiation around it too.
Yeah.
So it feels like you're in a Fallout level, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah. So. Yeah, miraculously though, the Empire State Building has survived the blast. Yeah. Well, you got to keep something iconic, right?
Well, it's a bit like the house in There Will Come Soft Rains,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're going to question the plot there. Yeah. Somehow the Statue of Liberty fell over, not the building, but all right.
Yeah.
That's where Blazkowicz, he finds and recruits. That was Grace, isn't it? Yeah.
It's Sister Grace and Super Spesh.
Then we go through there. Then they set up the plan. That's when we head to probably I think the most iconic level of the game, and just. I remember playing it the first time.
It was all building up to this, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It's the famous Roswell, New Mexico level. That is like, I remember the first time playing that, you're just walking through that parade there, and then you're seeing KKK members mixing with the German soldiers, and
and you want to listen to every conversation. When you're like you're walking through and like you should. This is what you need to do with the level, but I want to see everything that's going on because it's like a Victory Day parade and
but it has like that Americana feel to it, but with a Nazi undertone as well.
There's like the diners and then the Nazis walking around the street. Yeah, there's that right at the beginning. You see the two KKK members walking, and they're sort of walking, and like you see like a German soldier like, "Oh, have you been practicing your German?" And he's like, "Oh." Dankeschön.
Yeah.
You're like, no, that is terrible German. Like, you're like talking down to them.
Yeah. And you just feel that a couple of generations away where the complete American landscape's going to be completely Germanized, right? It's going to be the English language is going to be erased and eradicated. The German culture is going to be completely, the Nazi culture is going to be completely overtake it.
Again, as I said in part one, the game continually, other games, painted as a battle between good versus evil. This is like Germany. They weren't there to kill you. They were fucking there to kill the culture as well. Nazi Germany. It was like more important. It wasn't just.
It's basically back to Agent, like a disease or a virus. It is like that. It wants to eradicate and destroy everything.
And it's so like true to it. Like there's a particular scene. I think even when you walk over to like the towards a parade and you see like a woman talking to like a Obergruppenführer. It's like, oh, I'm so glad you Nazis came and gave us a bit of culture. Like, I was so sick of that jungle music, that jazz music. She's gone, in the area. Like, and he's like, oh yeah. Like, it's like these whole like, and I think like, Blazkowicz does his internal monologue. My God.
Yeah.
But he's sort of like,
what's happening?
He's like disgusted at like how the Americans would just accept this.
Yeah, you're getting that full on like he's gone back home for the first time in how long. And seeing what's happened to his country and what's happened to the society there. And you said he's disgusted by what he's seen. How they kind of just accepted things, and because like what we established in part one too, where because a lot of white people in America, right, and then Hitler had some ties to it, and they kind of just rolled over because it was this. I mean, they took out New York City, but we'll just accept what's going to happen going forward, and we can kind of be incorporated in the Reich. So it's not. It's it's the best case scenario for us. So we'll just relax it and go on from there.
Yeah.
So it's a bit disturbing, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But I'd go as far as to say that's one of the best levels I think in any game ever.
Oh, it was. Yeah. As I said, like we said earlier, like I think both you and me were like when we first played it, we both said to each other like, holy shit, this is like it feels. This is like when we talk about, we love to see these alternative histories and worlds. That's like, I just wanted to see what was like and walk around. I wanted to talk to more NPCs and see what the rhetoric was and find out. Like, I
mean, it really has to be like the highest art form, like the video game world, where you can just. People will probably debate me on that.
Yeah.
But like the highest art form to actually be able to simulate that for you, like it's absolutely perfect.
It's kind of weird. It's got that feel too, where it's a bit. It feels like the Kennedy assassination, with the way the parade's going. Like the grassy knolls where he's going through the streets and the parade and driving around. Like it has that outdoor feels to it as well. So it kind of like pays homage to like different parts of American history and society. So it's an amazing level. So like I'm always happy to play that level over and over again.
Oh yeah. And I think like talking about Roswell as well, it even pays homage to like the Roswell incident, like in 1947. You know how you've got the character Super Spesh?
Yeah.
And he's sort of like a mad conspiracy theorist and, this and that, it was aliens, man. He goes, no, it was actually the Dutch. He should, because it's established, I think Setroth mentions to them that they had given the American government access to their ancient technology, but they'd done it too late.
Yeah.
So the Nazis had come in and then actually got the technology, and obviously they've just used it to benefit them, right?
Yeah.
So, he gets in and then you see they set off a nuclear weapon at Roswell, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's right.
And then Blazkowicz, he's heading back. He's driving that. It's like a big wheel thing. I can't actually remember what he's driving, but it's like a motorbike. But it's anyways. He's going at the speed of light or something.
Yeah.
But he goes back home to
to
Mesquite, and who should he see there?
Oh,
his father.
Oh, of course. Face the ultimate demon,
He does. Yeah.
We confront his racist father.
But then you see certain flashbacks in the game, which one of the videos we've already played.
So it's kind of like leading to this point, isn't it? Yeah. So,
but I do appreciate the fact that his father's not just there for the sake of it, right? His father said, "Look, I heard about this explosion at Roswell, and I figured you'd come here," sort of thing. Like, so it's well written.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like you always see that trope in movies where it's like, I know my fate's coming, but I'm going to go out on my terms and blaze a glory kind of thing. So it encapsulates that. And I was going to say, I think Rip reveals he's allowed Blackfoot's Jewish mum to be taken from the Nazis, so he allowed his own wife to be sacrificed like that. Like that's
he said it was right, and then he's the Nazis are good, and if you play by their rules, it's good. And I think it's established he's got 1,000 acres somewhere. And oh no, I live here now, and everything's great for him. He's really accepting of their regime.
Yeah, he just established earlier. It benefits him, so he doesn't care, and it kind of reinforces his prejudice, his prejudice from beforehand as well. And it's been rewarded. So as you said, he got all the land and stuff, and I think that at this point is when Engel turns up to their place, isn't it?
In Auschwitz,
yeah, he turns up there and steals his mum's ring, isn't it?
Yes.
The ring. So that's the important plot device later down the track. So, and that's where he goes. Oh, I remember this scene too. Is when he goes to that kangaroo court.
Yeah,
that was that. I remember that mission was that level was so hard as well. I remember dying like 8 times in that one because you need to break out and start having mode.
Yeah, and what's annoying? It's a dream sequence.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so frustrating. But it was so cool seeing that kangaroo court, just like you see
the judge,
the judge, but you're seeing the red flags. It looked like that famous where Hitler was giving speeches. It looks like that with the big eagle in the background.
Right, the Nuremberg rally.
Yeah, rally.
Yeah,
no rally in Berlin, in the Reichstag. It looked
Reichstag.
It looked like the Reichstag. It looked like that, and then you had the different platforms and podiums and stuff. Yeah, it was just really. I remember that level distinctly, even though it was a flash or a dream, but it was still.
But like the judge sort of talking down to you and like, oh, it seems silly that I can only give you just the death sentence. It should be more, and it's like it's real.
Well, kind of it's like also like mirroring the old Reichstag court cases as well. You see that there's German courts, the absolute kangaroo court, and you see the footage of them like going, like yelling in German at people saying you this blah blah, you deserve to die, and no defenses, no 100% conviction rate. So
yeah, actually, you know what? It even hit me as well. When they when you get captured by Frangel and then they put you in almost a it's like a news conference where they show you off to the journalists and stuff, and everyone's clapping like real sycophants, and like a woman comes up and slaps her, you killed my son, and like all this shit. And it's
the pure propaganda. Seeing that the mass media using it as an opportunity to like promote, and then they've captured their boogeyman, right? Because Blazkowicz has been causing havoc throughout the whole, the Reich.
Fucking shit up, yeah.
You've been ruining their pure plans, right? Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, poor Blazkowicz. But yeah, I liked how it did that too. We've touched on again, like the real dystopic, like the cameras, the TV lights, the camera action around it all as well. Like, and just everyone's buying into it and supporting the Reich, and they're
capturing all the content and they're going to use it.
And they're like, it's kind of like it's like a social media influence, saying, yes, I can exploit this now, for my benefit. And like.
Well, yeah, that's what the Nazi regime did so well, didn't they?
Yeah,
it wasn't just
the pioneers of it, really.
Well, they were. Well, Goebbels was the pioneer. He was the daddy of PR, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yes, So it was good for them. And then I love that scene which at the Lincoln Memorial too, when
it's
so
iconic,
cool. And because it starts off where you're trapped, like you're tied down, and then you see like the background of the Lincoln Memorial where you're sitting in the seat. And it spins around, and you see where the lake is, all of that famous pool, whatever it is in Washington D.C., and then the Light Monument. And you see all the people there, and the Nazi flags, and it's taken over and it's in an area too that's such an iconic American like location that symbolizes, the democracy and freedom and all that kind of stuff. But it's being completely taken over by the Nazi regime and hijacked for their propaganda and ideology and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when your head goes on the to be chopped, you see Lincoln in the background. So is it Monument Hill?
Monument Hill, yes. Yeah.
He's sitting there. Actually, you know what? Let's play it. Let's play it because you can hear the chanting in the background of Frangel going. We'll let it play.
Unser ruhmvolles Reich wird nicht ruhen, ehe der Krieg gewonnen ist! Sieg heil! Sieg heil! Sieg heil! Sieg heil!
Yeah, heavy, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and this was like Fraul's like iconic moment for her, right in front of the cameras, killing the boogeyman of the regime, and it was usually like a sword, wasn't it, to cut his head off?
Yeah,
symbolic sword.
It'd be some like King Otto or
it's like some medieval
Holy Roman Empire thing.
Yeah, doing that. Well, we said here. Well, you were saying earlier that poor old Blazkowicz, his liver was failing, his body wasn't letting him down.
You thought it was silly before.
Oh, we thought we're going that, but it goes into this full like. So his head goes down.
She chops his head off.
It falls down into where it was going to be about to be incinerated, but it gets captured by a drone robot, who therefore takes it to the resistance group. I don't know how they got the drone in there, but I'm not going to question the plot. But then pops his head into like the Futurama like globe, like the.
It's like a super soldier's body, and you know what's ironic?
But the
tank,
yeah, like Richard Nixon in Futurama, like that kind of thing. Then managed to grab a perfect body that happens to be preserved.
It was a super soldier's body. And you know who made these super soldier bodies?
Who?
General Death's Head. So ironically, Death's Head saved Blazkowicz.
Yeah. sometimes, truth is stranger than fiction, you
Yeah,
know, in this world.
poetic justice.
Poetic justice, you know? Yeah. Unbelievable. And then he's like being reborn, as you'd say, you know?
Yeah.
He's been purified, old Blazkowicz, you know?
Blazkowicz, yeah, oh yeah.
And as I said earlier, he's got more than, he's got fucking 100 lives, old Blazkowicz, you know? Puts the cats to shame, doesn't he?
He does. He does.
But yeah, so after that, we go to he goes to like New Orleans or something after that, I think, from memory.
Yeah, he does actually. Yeah, he goes to New Orleans and there's a cell there.
That's where the ghettos are, right?
Well, it's established that the Nazis actually build a big wall around New Orleans, and they build a big wall around New Orleans and turn it into a ghetto and just leave people to their devices.
What do you think that's mirroring?
Yeah, that's it. But again, attention to detail. But then it's established because of all the goings on of the resistance, they're sending in death squads and stuff to like sort everyone out. So it's real. Yeah, but you see that bit when he sees the and I forget the name. He's the Reverend. He's the Reverend, and he'll be drinking. There's that bizarre scene when you're like drinking whiskey with him, and you're talking about it. He goes, and they were like conscientious objectors during the war, and Blazkowicz is like, perhaps if you fucking joined, we wouldn't have lost this war, and blah blah blah. You fucking Bolsheviks, and he's carrying on, and they're getting pissed on this like moonshine.
Yeah, like clash of ideologies.
Yeah. But then there's like some guys. I think one of the guys is playing the saxophone, and then there's like bullets flying in a sniper gun. It's a real bizarre scene, but a really cool scene. Like I really liked it, you know. But anyway, the New Orleans cell actually join the resistance, and then this is where they really start fucking shit up. Yeah,
this is when it kicks up a notch, right? So
yeah,
I guess one of those kind of like also again mirroring what happened a lot during the Nazis' rise, where there was so many different when the German government was in turmoil, right, after World War One, and there was so many there was the Marxist faction, and then the communists, and then another socialist faction, and then it seemed like the right wing were all united, where the others were all divided.
Republican,
and because there was so much infighting, and they could never combine together to fight this. But now this part of the game where they're coming together now, they can be one unit taking on the Reich.
I mean, they probably all come together a bit easily, but you know.
Well, it's part of the game, I guess. Yeah,
it's Wolfenstein.
It's Wolfenstein. Yeah, can't get too deep and philosophical, can we?
No. Well, the game does.
I know it does, but I'm saying, but like
we can't.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah.
I mean, so at this point, this is where they're all basically like at this point going to rise up, but they have to stop the before mentioned Ausmerzer, which obviously we said comes and quashes any sort of revolution.
It's kind of like the ultimate weapon, right?
Yeah, Frau Engel's Ausmerzer, but I guess the game gets more bizarre in the sense they've got to go to Venus to get the codes, but to get there, Blazkowicz has to pretend he's an actor by the name of, I think, Jules Redford.
I guess too also. They all assume he's dead too because he's been executed.
There is that.
So that's why he can get. It makes a bit more sense doing it this way as opposed
to
than the first game. Yeah, where he just steals the Nazi bloody scientist suit and goes up to Mars. But up to the moon. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where he has to, and I think they're now. It's established from various news reports that they're. I think they're making a propaganda film on the killing of Blazkowicz, and this great day for Germany, all that sort of thing. They're making a nice propaganda film. And then there's an actor called Jules Redfield, I think, who is going to be there. So they end up kidnapping him.
Yeah, you got the Dirty Mo as well, hasn't he?
Dirty Mo. So now Blazkowicz dresses up as him, puts the mo on, and then flies to Venus.
Yeah, and then I know.
I feel weird saying that.
Yeah, off to Venus now. Yeah, and that's when we see Hitler, right, in the game.
Yeah,
in the series,
I remember playing this for the first time. I was like, because it's talking about like, a producer. It's the producer, or he can be a little bit jumpy and all this sort of thing, and you see him come out, and the more like even playing it through these lenses when you do the research, I mentioned like in part 1 where Death's Head is now pretty much push Hitler to the side, and it's time that Hitler was fucking going mad in 1945. He was, as I say, he was pumped up on drugs, and he was surrounded by sycophants, and he was paranoid, and he had Parkinson's, he was shaking, he was, So let's just say that the 15 years haven't been kind to him, right? Like you see him bumbling out, and he's almost like got dementia, and
he's rambling and ranting.
Who are these people? Jewish spies, and he's, I think he shoots one of them, and
he's just paranoid as well. And what's funny too is that they put like a little like homage to Ronald Reagan. He's one of the actors that Hitler kills. He's the one from Arizona that then he goes in and shoots him.
Oh, when he said, "Oh, have you read my book?" I was like, yes, Mr. Hitler. Mr. Hitler.
He gets offended because he calls him Mr. Hitler instead of the Führer. Yeah, and then that's when he then he shoots him, and I never realized it was actually Ronald Reagan. I'm like, that's so fascinating. They put him in there because he's being an actor before he became president.
That's a brilliant Easter egg.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, that was clever. And yeah, well, it's crazy the depiction of Hitler too. We were saying before with the drugs, and I remember a couple of times like he's like starts vomiting and then like he urinates in that bucket or something.
He takes like it's like a champagne cooler or something, and he sort of puts just pisses in it.
Yes.
And then he vomits, and then he sort of falls on the floor, and he's all like, it's a real sort of funny scene. Like it's kind of like
it's like mocking him like to the extreme.
Yeah, it is. It's sort of taking all the straight. And it's funny. Like I even thought of it after. You know how like there was conspiracies about the Nazis escaping to the moon after the war and all. You don't have to look too hard on Google when you go through, this whole. It's sort of taking the piss out of that whole conspiracy too.
Yeah. He's still alive somewhere, kind of thing. Yeah.
But like also it's well established that like Hitler loved films. He loved directing. He loved obviously Leni Riefenstahl, and he had a real affinity for films and stuff. So in this world, he's the producer of it. And he's like, oh, I need you to think like Blazkowicz, and I need you to be him. And he's real like his attention to detail. So like. But I love that, like, again, from the writers of this game to just...
Wasn't there one part too, because Blazkowicz kills one of the German soldiers, and he's like, I love that, do it again, Yeah. Oh, you're really encapsulating. He gets really into it, like, that's the sadistic side of Hitler.
And then he's just like, you're my Blazkowicz, and he just kills the other actor.
It's great, isn't it?
And I think the director sort of just crosses him off the list. Oh, okay.
It's just like, we said in the previous part, like, it's just... dehumanization of everything, like it's like another person dead. Oh, give a shit. Next one, move on. Like it's crazy.
It's a real faithful adaptation of him. It really is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So then Blazkowicz obviously gets pretty successful. He gets the codes to decipher the devices of the odds.
Was there even a doubt?
Yeah. I had a little bit of doubt, but he defied the odds once again. Man goes above and beyond, you know. So then. So the Crucial Circle like goes and assaults the Alsmerzer, the Flying Fortress, and they're able to disable the defensive systems, get into the compound in there, and then they're learning that Engel, she's on national television in Hollywood, so the Resistance travels there.
Is that called like the Jimmy Carver show or something?
Yeah, I love these are subtle references. It's fucking great, isn't it? Yeah.
And you got like the band playing and stuff, and
it once again that juxtaposition of this like ultra like this classy society, but then the undertones of this moral depreciating horror. Yeah,
just like the Nazi regime, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So the original travel there, the studio complex. So then, the great man Blazkowicz does kill his nemesis. Eventually, he kills Engel.
He kills Engel on national TV, and then they start talking to the camera, and like everyone like rise up now. That's a really cool scene.
Yeah, that's mad actually. Yeah. And then I love that it's got that 1960s TV studio aesthetic as well, which is really cool to see that. Yeah, that he hijacks the TV, says that encourages America to rise up. Unite, revel.
It even sort of gives me goosebumps in that with but the music in the background, it almost feel like you want like Rage Against the Machine playing. You do. Yeah, that's like it's your call to arms. Yeah. Do you want to play a bit of it?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Yeah, the audience, see what they think.
And for tonight, you look down upon your hands, and they soaked in the blood of our oppressors, and you're one of us.
If tonight you hold your babies in your arms, I swear they'll grow up to be free people. Then you are one of us.
Did you forget? They brought this war to our shores!
Yes, sister.
And then they beat us! They murdered us! They executed us! But guess what? Tonight, they also find out that they fucked with the wrong country. My brothers and sisters of the United States of America!
Yeah. No, that was because this was like this is like kind of like the turning of the tide moment for the resistance, and we later established too when we won't go into the young bloods of this episode, but that kind of showcases that's the trigger point to when America regains itself again, the revolution happens again, and then later down the track it's still going on in Europe in 1980. But yeah, this moment was when everything changed in America, at least.
So America's now land of the free.
Free back again, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, they can bring up the Statue of Liberty from under the shores again, hopefully. Yeah. Play the Star Spangled Banner, Yeah. So yeah, then we end there, and then there's a bit of as the cuts, the rolling the credits happens, and then we see that I love this part too because Angel's got the ring from his mother's ring that she stole back in Texas. He takes it off her dead body and then gets on one knee and proposes to Anya, who's heavily pregnant. Like, you see, even after all that, he's still a gentleman, isn't he, old Blazkowicz,
Blazkowicz is the perfect man.
He is. Wish I could be like Blazkowicz,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we assume it's happily ever after that, but yeah.
America's safe.
Safe it is, yeah, once again. I guess it is a great way to end the series, like summing up like how the Nazis regime, it was never going to last, right? It was always, it has this fault in it where it could never continue on.
Honestly, to me, it is it's the killing of Death's Head in the first one, because Death's Head was the one who was sort of like, I guess, anti-Semitic, who didn't let the ideology of the Nazis get in the way of his research. As soon as he goes, and then it gets into like the bureaucracy and all the rest of it. As we know in our timeline, the Nazi Empire was doomed to failure, right?
Yeah,
because of Hitler's. Yeah, again, because of I guess with what happening with the Manhattan Project, I guess he was surrounded by yes men, and these are all the problems with authoritarian regime, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess too, like just going to some like the thing we were talking about earlier too, some of the the resistance people. You see like a lot of black and minority people in it, and there's a famous part too where I think like Blazkowicz he's arguing with one of the with one of the resistance fighters. I can't remember his name, but he basically says like, what happened to America? We should be fighting. How do we fall? And then he's saying, basically, it wasn't all sunshine and roses before the war. As a black person, I was repressed. I wasn't allowed to go. I think it's like I couldn't go to the diner. Was that the diner or something? I had to use the black man's entrance. I couldn't get food because I might contaminate the food because I'm black.
Yeah.
Basically, you guys were the Nazis before the Nazis came. So for them, it's just like same shit, different regime, basically.
Yeah.
And it really like highlights that. I feel, that kind of you can feel like the turmoil in between the characters and the tension.
Yeah. I really appreciate the game for that.
Yeah.
As I say, like, I don't know of another game that can just drag you in between the bombastic and the like grounded and all this thought-provoking material and the attachment to characters and stuff.
Yeah, as I said, like 1 minute you're having this like full-on deep and meaningful inner monologue with Blazkowicz, and the next minute it's like something really stupid or something. Like one of the characters is getting upset about something really minuscule. You're like, oh, okay. But then next minute you're going and dual wielding two shotguns, blowing things up and stuff. You're just like, oh, all right, we're going this direction now.
In many ways, the perfect game.
It is, yeah. And I really hope. Well, there's rumors that there's a third game in the works, so I really hope they do go down that route. And the issue I find with the Young Bloods, I played it, half of it, I got bored with it, and just turned off. It just didn't have the same feel to it. But it's cool that it went 20 years after the end of this game and went towards Paris, where there's still the Nazis occupy Europe, as opposed to the whole world. So, and they're helping the resistance there. But I'll be interesting to see, because it jumped such a 20-year gap. I would love to see American getting established again after that point. Reestablishing its own country and identity, and then the Nazis' reaction to that happening, and where they'd go, what they do, and how they fight it, and what technologies they still have.
You want to go through the fight, don't you?
You want to go through the fight still, yeah. And there's still sections. I'd love to go to part 2 where you're going back to Roswell and like taking out the Ku Klux Klan and stuff. That'd be really cool.
Oh yeah.
I reckon it's one area they could really explore and do that. And then add in like little Easter eggs here and there, like where you might see, I don't know, Lyndon B. Johnson or even JFK or something in the background, because obviously he wouldn't have been assassinated back then, right? So he could be somewhere else. Or
maybe in this world he survives. I don't know.
I'm saying, something really cool like that. Or even like Richard Nixon somewhere. It'd be really cool to go on those tangents. I love when alternative histories do things like that with like real life figures.
Yeah.
So be mad to see that. And hopefully if Wolfenstein 3 does come out, I like to see maybe like set in late 60s, early 70s and go from there, and maybe explore a bit more of Europe, or back to Europe, or maybe you can go like to where we are in Australia or something, see what we're up to, or in Asia, or see what the Japanese Empire's up to.
Yeah.
So who knows where it can go. I hope it does go in that kind of direction or something similar.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, this has been quite the episode, right? Yeah, we've established everything.
I mean, to be fair, we said beforehand we're not getting this done in one episode. We're not getting this done in one take, one episode, are we?
No. I think there's so many things to talk about and so many things to explore. And
I mean, I'm sure there's things we've missed, but
absolutely are. Some of like because we're doing 2 games as well. Like there's parts of it where I'm like, oh, what happened to New Colossus again? That's right. Yeah, just little triggering points. But yeah, it was really good to go through this game again because I got first introduced to the series through you actually because you told me, oh Matt, you have to play this game. Like it's so sick and World War II references. I'm like, oh okay. I remember seeing the cover art, the red background and the silhouette cuts out and. I don't know. It never drew me initially. I don't know why, but then you gave it to me. I'm like, oh, this is really like really cool. Really like great story, great gameplay, great design, everything like that. And I remember the second game because I lived in Canada for a year, right? And I remember the second game came out, and my housemate there had a PlayStation 4, and I was like, and it came out then. I'm like, I got to buy it. I was on like $10 an hour. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm spending my income.
Daddy has to do it.
I have to do it. I have to play it. So. And yeah, I just remember playing that over there and just loving every minute of it, and just I wanted more when it finished. I'm like, I wanted to replay it again, and yeah, it's an amazing experience, and I highly recommend anyone who's interested hasn't played it to definitely play both games. It's only they're only about like 11 hours, 12 hours each in length.
Yeah,
you can do a couple of side missions, so it's a pretty easy playing experience in that way. And also too, you can kind of choose difficult levels if you want to just go in pretty chill, or you want to bit of a challenge, you can do that. So. I'm glad it does that. It gives that option to the player. So,
I reckon that wraps up Wolfenstein. I think. What are we doing next week?
I've got no idea.
We are doing Children of Men.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Great. Children of Men.
So, one of my favorite films and favorite books actually, but very different from one another. But it almost feels like they're set in the same universe. But you've never seen this before, have you?
No, I've never seen it or read any of the books. I'm going completely blind into this one. So
it's a superb. Thought-provoking piece of art, to be honest with you. It's I love it, and I'm actually a bit nervous because I really want to do it justice. But it's a very different take on dystopia. Basically, it's about it imagines a world in you see it in Britain, but it imagines a world where there's now infertility, so you don't know if it's coming from God or if it's the natural thing. But it's almost like a human race facing extinction and everything that goes with that. So it's a very different take on some of the things we've been doing, but. Yeah, nonetheless, very thought-provoking.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm looking forward to giving it a watch and going exploring that world when we get there. So, but yeah, guys, that will wrap up part 2 of Wolfenstein. As always, find us on Instagram at dystopediapod, or send us an email at info@dystopediapodcast.com. Let us know if any kind of media you want us to explore. We'd love to, like as I said in previous episodes, go in completely blind to an episode and explore and discover some new piece of art we've never seen before. So, but yeah, that will wrap up this episode, and we'll catch you next week, guys.
See you guys.